Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of In the Spotlight. I'm Mike Palmice, and I'm always excited whenever I have this guest on. He's a wonderful person. I mean, one of the real good people in Hollywood. He's a singer, an actor, you know, had a band as early as fifth grade. I mean, the guy's done it all. It is my pleasure to introduce to you the one and only Al Sapienza. And Al, I want to thank you as always for coming on. It's always a pleasure to have you.
Thanks, Mike. I appreciate you. Appreciate your questions. It's always an intelligent, fun interview.
So Al, last time we talked, I didn't get to go into too much detail about it, but when you started this band in fifth grade, I mean, at that time you're just a 10-year-old kid. I mean, did you and your band, play at like any birthday parties or anything like that? And I mean, what kind of music did you play?
We played "I'm a Believer" by the
Great.
Monkees.
Yeah.
Ruby Tuesday by the Rolling Stones. Happy Together. So I wish I could say I started the band, but Robert Lewin from Oakwood Elementary School, who unfortunately passed away of cancer, very young, very young. And you know what? I don't want his family to hear this, but it's more important that I give this message to the young people in the world. You know why he died? Absolutely, because he did a lot of drugs, like in junior high school and high school. And the three friends that we had, and I loved them all, that did a lot of drugs. I mean, a lot of drugs, like LSD, and they all got cancer.
Wow.
I mean, you can't bombard your body with chemicals that your body hasn't been synthesizing for 200,000 years as a Homo sapien and not expect to have an effect, including alcohol and pot. All my friends, like I'm old now, all my friends that smoked pot the whole life, they all talk like this now. Every single one of them, Jewish, Italian, Bronx, Brooklyn, the Midwest, they all talk like this. So anyway, he started the band, Robert Lewin and Louis LaCicera. And I remember we did a fifth grade concert to our fifth grade class, to Miss Nello's class in Oakwood Elementary with Sherry Wohl and Barbara Ferber and Lloyd Rosenfeld.
Right.
And it was great being 10 years old. And I didn't have a full drum set. I only had a snare, a floor tom-tom, and one cymbal.
So let me ask you, Al, I know, Beatlemania was something that you were a big part of and, you did great with that. But was there like a band when you were like in second grade? I know you're little then, but something had to inspire you. I mean, everybody wants to play the drums or the guitar when they're a young kid, but I mean, something had to like stand out when you were a young kid that made you say, you know what, I want to do this.
Absolutely. And I tell the whole story in my show, in my and Deborah Renard's show, The Soundtrack of Our Lives. I tell the whole story. Kennedy was assassinated, and it was very, very depressing and dismal in Muncie, New York, Rockland County, New York. And in our household, it was just the country was just like we were punched in the gut with a baseball bat, And that was November 22nd, 1963, and December, January. And like 2.5 months later, we're watching the Ed Sullivan Show on Sunday evening. And these four guys come on and they sing, "She loves you, love me do, please, please me, I want to hold your hand." And not only me, but my mother, my sisters, everyone was blown away. Paul McCartney couldn't be handsomer and more charming and sexy and had a stage presence that was like a 1,000, Lennon was amazing and cool. And the sound was brand new. It was a brand new sound to the world. Up to that point, you had like 3-chord rock and roll, D, G, A, A, D, G, and they were just different. Their hair was different. Their suits were different. Their boots were different. Their songs were different. Their lyrics were different. And that was it. That's what I was like. And unfortunately, I didn't hone in on Paul McCartney or John Lennon. I honed in on Ringo. So the next day, my father got me a snare drum and a cymbal. And the first song I played was "If I Fell."
Oh, wow.
And that's it. I mean, the Beatles, I love the Beatles. And then miraculous, I wind up in Beatlemania. I mean, I don't know. What a coincidence. And Murray the K, who was with the Beatles at the Ed Sullivan Theater, in 1964 and at the Plaza Hotel and took a train with him to Florida. He wound up being my mentor and got me the audition for Beatlemania. And if it weren't for him, I never would have been in that show. My whole life and career would be different for sure. I don't know whether it'd be worse or better, but I'm very happy where I am right now and very grateful. But my whole life would be different if it weren't for Murray the K. He was one of those people that had that effect on my life.
Yeah. You know, I remember, Al, I want to say VH1 did, you know, it was with actors and stuff, but there was always a rumor that I want to say 1976 or 77, Paul McCarthy went to John Lennon's apartment to try to make peace with him. So they did a special on VH1 about it. And, you know, it was a pretty good movie. It wasn't bad. But do you believe that had Lennon not passed away, they would have eventually got back together at some point?
Absolutely, positively, without a doubt. There's no question. And if you ask McCartney, he says the same thing. I mean, they absolutely would have. The three of them got back together without Lennon a couple of times. They did 3 recording sessions, actually. Yeah. And of course they would have. You know, one thing about life, no matter who you are or how special you think you are or what your ego is, because your ego is just a waste of time, we all die. We all die.
Yeah.
And everything we acquired and we had is no longer ours. And 90% of the time, people we don't like wind up with it anyway. You know, like the pool man that was having sex with your wife for 35 years winds up with your car and all your guitars. No, I'm kidding. But so when you get older, you know, when you hit your 60s and 70s, you know, when you're in your 20s, 30s, and 40s, unless you have a chronic illness like cancer or something, you don't think about death. You don't plan for it. You don't think about it. It's not in your realm of consciousness. When you're 65 and 70, before you buy anything, you know, a piece of land, a stock, an apartment, a condo, you have to factor it in that you are a temporary being on this planet. And all the stupid things that were so important to you in your 20s and 30s, they go away. So the Beatles later in their years, of course they would have gotten together. They were 4 guys that when they worked together changed planet Earth, the citizens on planet Earth, all of them changed music. And of course they'd want to tour and reminisce and see the happy people when they were 60. There's no question. Anyway, that's my answer. I don't have any short answers.
Right. That's okay. And it's funny about your career, Al, because as a 7-year-old boy, your dream was to be a musician. And then that changed when you were 12 years old and you saw the movie Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. And, you know, you got to live both careers because you got, you know, acting kind of became your passion when you saw that movie and you kind of drifted a little bit away from music, but you still were able to do both of them. But what was it about Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid that just made you say, I want to be an actor?
That's a great question. That's a terrific question, Mike. Robert Redford and Paul Newman were incredible human beings. I mean, actors, they just had incredible karma, persona. They just were phenomenal to look at on screen, whatever they were in. And that movie was just magical. Their chemistry, their friendship, their camaraderie, you know, fighting to stay alive against the law. They were outlaws, Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid. And their relationship with Catherine Ross was magical and romantic. And the song Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head by, I can't remember who did it, but I watched this movie and I was like, I want to be part of that world. You know, I want to be part of that world, period. I didn't know at that point what a director did, what a producer did. I didn't even know if they were real I did know that they were actors, but half the time, I didn't know they were actors. I just figured that's got to be fun. And if you have to work and you have to work 50 or 70 hours a week at something, why not do something that when you do have success at it would be a lot of fun? You know, music, acting, and any of the arts, dance, you know, it's singing, it's, you know, playing an instrument. So that was my take on it. And, you know, as I get older, I think about this a lot. And again, it's an answer to your question again. And you could always edit these questions. They don't have to be this. My answers don't have to be this long. You can edit them. But as I get older, I think about my life, because I'm in the last quarter of it, I guess, and I think my life, if I could figure it out, would be a reflection on how I'd feel politically and how I'd feel about human beings in general. Like, am I lucky because I just had a gene that made me work my ass off morning, noon, and night? I still sleep 3 to 5 hours a night. I work till 1, 2 in the morning or I don't think that's it. I was lucky enough to meet certain people like Murray the K, Milton Katselas, the acting teacher in LA, Carol Kamen, one of my producers from Beatlemania, that beat me into shape and explained to me, you don't have a chance unless you're going to work, 60, 70 hours a week. You don't have a chance in this business, in any artistic business, because in high school, I was a jock, lover, party guy. I liked sports and women. I wasn't interested in anything. I played the drums to release my tension every day, and in college, I was kind of the same way. I was wasting so much time. And it wasn't until my junior year in college that I realized I have to make a living. I have to make money. I like nice things. So it's an interesting question. Now, did I have a gene in me that made me realize that? And some people just don't. And then you got to feel sorry for those people and try and help them. But I'm asking major questions about life now as I get older, because I look out onto this city, this incredible city, and people who work their asses off, and the doctors and lawyers and college professors and dentists, and then all the people who don't, that just, are walking around the streets looking for help and money. And I think, is it right for us to give them this or make them understand either they work, go into a mental institution, or they go to jail? It's like, or do we just help them because they don't have our DNA? I don't know the answer to that, but that's the question that faces in this election. That question faces it, because the Democrats are for, help everybody. Well, do they have gigantic hearts, or is it just so those people will vote for them and they'll always be in power because they'll have 51% of the democracy on the take? And the Republicans are like, no, work, merit. You don't go to college because you're white. You go to college because you got great grades, or you don't go to college. So I don't know. All these things, all these questions are going on in my head as I get older. But anyway, I don't want to ruin your show.
Right. No, but
I don't know the answer to them, by the way. I don't know the answer.
You make a great point. And, that's one of the things. I don't want to get into too much of this, but
yeah,
that's why I look at our world right now and it's so divided. And, it's sad because in a lot of ways we all want the same things, but I think sometimes we all go about it in a not the best way. Like, we need to stop, in my opinion, fighting with each other all the time and band together. That's just my opinion.
Well, Mike, can we, you know what? Can we talk about this for a little bit? Because it's really relevant. If you don't want to, it's your show. I won't. But I think we should talk about it, because I think it's probably more important than the Sopranos or Beatlemania or me. What you just said, like, these are the questions. These are important questions. Well, I don't know the answer to that question either, but this is my take on the world. And again, I'm older now and I'm trying to figure this out. I figure that 75% of all the Homo sapiens on Earth, everywhere, in, South Africa, Kenya, Tanzania, Ireland, India, New Jersey, 65% of us, all we want to do is have healthy children, be good to each other. We don't care what the color of anybody's skin is.
Right.
We don't care. We don't want to beat up gay people. We don't want to make fun of trans people and make them feel bad. I think 65% of us are good. And we don't give a shit about who's president as long as they manage the damn country and keep us safe, happy, and healthy. I don't think people even really care. This is the problem. The 25% of people And unfortunately, I'm probably in that 25% because I'm an egomaniac because I'm an actor, right? I'm not part of the 65%. 25% of people in the world, they're power hungry, money hungry, egomaniacs. And if it's one thing, if you're in Hollywood, at least we admit we're egomaniacs. Or on Wall Street, you admit it. You want to be rich. You go into banking and finance and stocks and bonds. We're egomaniacs. We love the creative world. It's those, I can't curse on your show. You've got to beep it out. I got to curse. It's those fucking politicians, Republicans and Democrats.
Yeah.
They're egomaniacs. They're greedy, money-hungry bastards. They want to be famous. Everything bad wrapped up in one ball, and they're parading as public servants. And they run elections as public servants.
Right.
They are full of shit. Every one of them, maybe 2% are in it for the right reasons because they really want Earth to be better for their children. Just watch the commercials. The other thing is the news. I was a big fan of Reagan, a big fan. He made a horrible mistake. He deregulated the news. When until like 1982, if you ran 20 minutes on conservatism, you had to run 20 minutes on liberalism. You had to have balanced everything on the networks. The news now, I particularly think, is a bigger problem than the scum politicians. I even think Obama. I think Obama's like that. I don't even think he's good. I think they're all egomaniacs. To me, the last good politician was George Bush Sr. Jr., I can't even look at, getting us into Iraq. But they used to have honor. You know, and if you want to watch the debate between Nixon and Kennedy from 1960, they honored each other. They honored each other's differences. So the news, you don't have the news anymore. You have Fox, which is complete propaganda for the right, MSNBC, which is absolute almost propaganda, not just for the left, for socialism and a little communism, and CNN is propaganda for the left. I watch them all. So they are making money by dividing us.
And the newspapers are like that too. I mean, if you read the Daily News, it's all for the left, and if you read the New York Post, it's all for the right. Yeah,
the Times is all for the left, and the Washington Post. Bezos just came clean. He's not endorsing. He realized that his paper is a rag, and he said he's not endorsing anyone. I mean, this is very important. What's going on right now? I hate to say like Donald Trump, who says, you know, this has never been anybody. Listen, I'm voting conservative this year, and I am not a conservative. I believe in pro-choice. I believe in gay marriage. Leave people alone if they don't bother anybody. What do you care? If people need an abortion after 3 or 4 months in Texas, who the hell are you to tell them not to do that? But I am voting conservative. I think the liberals who have been in power the last 4 years have wrecked New York City. They've wrecked my state. They've wrecked everything. And if they meant it, if I believe that, you know, Biden and Kamala Harris just loved gay people and wanted to help them and loved they're egomaniac bastards like everybody else. So if I believe them, I'd go with them. I'd go, you know what? We should help. We could help people. We have enough money. But no, they're garbage. I think they're all garbage. I think so. You know, and Trump was like, this is the most important election in history. This is the most biggest crowd ever. I mean, come on. My father told us all, never say never and always. You sound like a moron. But I still have to vote for that moron. I have to vote for him because what he represents is much more in line with my checklist of, you know, Ukraine and Israel and the border and crime and the homeless. And, you know, I have no sympathy for people sleeping on the streets. Get up, sleep in a shelter, sleep in an insane, you know, go to a mental institution or go to jail. But anyway, enough of this. But I think this is very important right now, like far important than my career. But go ahead. I'm sorry for going down that road.
No problem. I'll be happy when it's all.
You can cut it out. You have my permission to cut the whole section out if you don't want it.
Right.
We can go over. We can go extra.
So
just edit it out.
Let me ask you this. You know, right. So Al, you briefly touched on Milton, and you spent 14 years working with Milton, and I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sure what you learned from him in those 14 years, you know, that learning in itself was so rewarding and invaluable. So just talk about him a little bit because he played a big part in your career.
He was my life. Nothing about my life would be the same if I didn't go to that class. Nothing. So can I tell you the long story or the short story?
Sure, go ahead. Tell me the long.
Because I need to tell you this. So I'm at NYU. I told you about, the Beatlemania thing, and I'm in a panic. I'm in my senior year now. I think I was in a panic by the end of my junior year. I'm like, how am I going to make it as an actor? I'm never going to make it. How am I going to make enough money just to like buy a car and pay for my insurance and drive around and pay for rent in LA? Like, how am I going to do this? So I'm studying with Stella Adler, Pearl Pearson, and Ron Burris at NYU. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. That barking like dogs, ruff, ruff, pretend you're a flower. I'm like, this is not going to get me on, NYPD Blue. So I'm watching it. So I took a class. If I told you this before, stop me. So I don't have to. I took a class outside of NYU, and I was 18 or 19. No, I was 19. And I was the youngest one there. Everyone, I thought they were old. They were in their late 30s. But there was one other young girl. She was 18, and she was gorgeous, gorgeous. So I'd get coupled up with her all the time to rehearse our scenes at home and bring them in and do them and have rehearsed scenes. So she lived with this 50-year-old guy in a beautiful luxury high-rise on Broadway and 72nd. The building is still there. And she was living with Murray the K. And she is Jackie Zeman. She wound up being the highest paid soap opera actress in American history. So Murray just took a liking to me. And I made money, spending money in college, playing the drums for $10 an hour, which was a lot of money in the 70s, for every gay act on Christopher Street. I was their drummer. It was one of the most eye-opening. And I love gays. My sister's gay. I happen to be straight myself. No big deal. But it was one of the most eye-opening experiences I ever saw in my life. And what an adventure. I mean, I was like, and I was, if I may say so, when I was 18, I was a good-looking kid. I was a jock. I played sports in school and stuff. And it was crazy. So I was just like, oh my God. So anyway, I made a demo reel. One of the singers made a demo reel, and I contributed one song that I wrote. Murray loved the song, and he brought me to Steve Lee, because blah 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 blah. Anyway, I get in Beatlemania. So now I go to LA, and I'm trying to find an acting school. I study with Charles Conrad. It was ridiculous. I study with Pearl Pearson, who was Sean Penn's a good actor. And she lived in the roof of the studio with her husband, who reminded me of Liberace. And I was like, if I learn everything this woman has to teach me, I could be living in that attic too. This isn't going to work. Then I studied with Tracy Roberts. She was late to every class. She brought her dog to class. She was going out with this guy 30 years younger than her that was like abusive to her. It was like a kindergarten class. Now I'm entering on a year and a half in LA, and I'm panicking, literally panicking. So people start telling me, study with this guy, Milton Katselas, study with him. So I go for an interview, and there's a 6 to 8 month waiting list. And he has a seminar for everyone on the waiting list. He pulls up in a black 450 SEL Mercedes with a gorgeous woman who wound up being my singing partner now, Deborah Renard.
Yeah.
And he was a winner. He owned tons of real estate in Beverly Hills. He owned the 2 theaters that he taught, where he taught and where he had productions every weekend. He talked to us about what to do with our money as soon as we make money. I was like, this guy, if I was this guy, I'd be happy. If I had his life and his Mercedes and his girlfriend and his career. He also directed Butterflies Are Free, Goldie Hawn's first movie. Eileen Hackett won the Academy Award. He directed Report to the Commissioner, Richard Gere's first movie. So I studied with this guy. And the second I walked in that class in August of 1984, there was Deborah Renard, who was on Dallas, the #1 show in the world since she was 20.
Yeah.
And now she's 24. She's still going to acting class. You know, she was on Dallas for 10 years. 4 years into the show, she's still going to class. It was Tuesday and Thursday nights. Anna Alicia from Falcon Crest.
Yeah.
Joan Van Ark from Knots Landing. Kirstie Alley. Ann Archer. Patrick Swayze, 3 years before Dirty Dancing. George Clooney, 5-6 years before, you know, ER. Who else am I missing? Joel Schumacher, who was Woody Allen's wardrobe, the head of the wardrobe department for Woody Allen's movies, who wanted to learn how to be a director and work with actors. He was in class. Oliver Stone was there for a little while. Jenna Elfman. So I walk in this class. I was intimidated to death. I was so scared to put up a scene with all these, you know, great actors. And Milton taught different. His approach was different than any acting coach in any acting book. Like if you read Stanislavski, if you read Michael Shurtleff, if you read Stella Adler, if you read, his approach to acting was this. It was this. I don't have to teach you to act. All of you are Academy Award winning actors by the time you're 4 years old. You all know how to act. You all know how to be sad, happy. It's real. You know how to con your father for an ice cream if your mother won't give it to it. If they both won't, you know how to con your older sister or your younger brother. Acting is not the issue. Your psychology is your nervousness, your self-consciousness. You're judging yourself, sitting in the mirror and going, oh, I got this wart. No one will ever hire me. He goes, that's the shit that I have to deal with every day. He goes, you all are actors. If you just shut up and just say the words in the script, be more concerned about the people you're talking to than yourself. Let them ask you a damn question and answer it. Just answer it like a human being in the supermarket. You'll win an Academy Award. That was his philosophy. And he was friggin' right. Half his class are stars on series and movies. And anyway, he was the greatest, and he was a great guy. And I've never, to this day, when I got The Sopranos and moved back to New York in '98, I looked for a class, and there was just nothing. I could have taught the classes here from what I learned from Milton. So I would go to class for the rest of my life if there was a teacher like him. And Martin Landau, the Academy Award winning actor, he had a class. I would have studied with him, but he died. He got old and died. But Milton's class was amazing. There were 99 seats and 99 people in those seats. And what's great about having 99 people in your acting class, you had to fight to put up a scene. You know, there was a whole scheduling thing. And you knew if you sucked or not way before you finished. You didn't need his critique. If you did a comedy and no one was laughing, you were like, we really suck. And if you did a drama and people are shifting in their seats, you know, and like shuffling, you know, you suck. But that class was one of a kind. And he was a great human being. You know, Doris Roberts from Everyone Loves Raymond?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, she was in his class for 29 years until he died, after she was a multimillionaire and won 3 Emmys, or was nominated for 3, or won 3. We have to fact check.
I think she won 3. Yeah.
She stayed in that class till he died.
Right. She also, you know, it's funny you bring her up. She also won an Emmy when she guest starred on St. Elsewhere. She did that great episode.
The homeless woman, right?
Yeah, where she had to have her foot amputated. So, I mean, she just, the fact that she continued to take that class, that says a lot about what Milton was, because
29 years.
Yeah.
In that class. And I was her leading man in the first play she ever directed. It was called Screen Test Take.
Yeah.
Screen Test Take 3. Screen Test Take 1. Screen Test. And it was written by Jack Betts, who was her best friend, and she directed it. And I had the pleasure of working with her for like 4 months. It was great. It was great.
Yeah. And, you know, you could always learn new things. I mean, that's the thing about what you do. You're never too,
right.
You know, you don't have that much where you have the attitude, I don't need to learn anything anymore. I know it all. You know, you see that actors become better actors as they get older as well.
I'm one of them. I became a much better actor as I got older. And in class, you practice different accents. You practice different, you know, you practice sword fights. You practice, you know, class is the greatest. I loved it. I'm telling you, one of the best parts of my life was Milton's class. Sean Weatherly, Miss Universe, was also another side note. And I'm being a gentleman. I'm not being, but this is true. All these people, you go on like websites. If you want to meet a gorgeous, intelligent woman, take an acting class in New York or LA. In LA, Milton's class, every beautiful woman from every state in the United States went to LA and went to his class. We had Sean Weatherly, Miss Universe was in class when I was in there. Crystal Bernard. I go down the whole list. It was like, that's the greatest place to meet beautiful, beautiful women.
Right.
The free tip.
So Al, you talked about Jackie, which that's a great story because, you know, she was, when I think of General Hospital, you have to think of her right away because she was the core of it. But since the last time you and I talked, Jackie passed away, and also Tony Sirico did. So just talk about the two of them a little bit and the impact they had on you.
Jackie had a tremendous impact on me because, like I said, I was friends with her. I was 19, and we stayed friends for forever. You know, she would send the first Christmas card out right at Thanksgiving weekend. Like every year, the first Christmas card I'd get year after year after year was from Jackie. And she was just a good person. She was sweet. She was kind. And if you think about it, she looked just like Betty Davis when she was in her 30s. They should have done the Betty Davis story. And I told her a million times, you should do a biopic on Betty Davis. But anyway, she was just great. We were really good friends for a long time. And then when I went out to LA, finally, after the Beatlemania tour in November of 81, Murray and Jackie split up, and that was hard. I stayed friends with both of them, very good friends with both of them. I stayed friends with Jackie, and I lived with Murray. Murray rented me his guest bedroom. So I was living with Murray for 2 years. I lived with him in Studios, Beverly Hills first, and then Studio City. And he, that was sad. I was sad because they were a good couple, but you know what? You know how that is with couples. And in show business. And so she was a sweetheart. Tony Sirico. His real name, by the way, is Junior Sirico. Not many people know that. He was Junior Sirico. Then we became like a big, when he made it as an actor, it's like, don't call me Junior anymore. Uncle Junior is Junior. I'm Tony. Tony wasn't far off from the character you saw him play in the show. He wasn't a murderer, but he actually did go to prison for manslaughter for 5 years, early on. You know that, right?
Yeah.
He's a street guy. He was in a little bit of a experience being a gangster. And you know what was great about him? With the tattoos and that exterior and the guinea tea and the hair, he really did have the soul of an artist. He had a heart of gold. He was a walking contradiction. Hey, if he was mad, he could snap your head off, but he also had this sweet side, and he wouldn't be a good actor if he didn't. And he wouldn't have been so talented, in that role. Like that role he was so great on that show. He was so crazy. And like, that's his hair. The hair department wasn't allowed to touch his hair. He went into work with that hair. That was he died. He left those, great things, and he died the rest. Nobody could touch his hair. That's Tony. Tony Sirico was very much like Paulie Walnuts. Take away the murdering.
Right.
And I'm working. And I'll always remember one thing he said to me. You remember things that people say to you your whole life. And I remember we were sitting on 13th Street by the meatpacking district. We were outside some event because if I recall, he smoked, and he was still smoking then. He was smoking a cigarette, or he was just sitting outside. Vince Curtolo always had a cigarette in his hand. And I've known Vince since I was 18, way before he even thought about being an actor. He was dating my sister Lois. I'm from Rockland County. And anyway, I've known him forever. And Tony looked at me and goes, think of the lifelong friends we made on this show. The lifelong friends forever. And I was like, yeah, that's totally true. Like, this is this is different than most shows. Like everybody's connected forever, you know, personally too. Like
Yeah.
it gave, I guess it was like being on a winning World Series team or oh, did the Yankees win last night?
Yes, they did 11 to
It's
4.
2-2. It's
No,
2.
it's 3-1. They're down 3 games.
They didn't win 2 nights ago. The first game.
No, they got beat 4-2. Yeah.
Oh, they're gonna lose.
They can't lose another game, but let's get it back to LA and see what happens.
Yeah, I'm not too hopeful.
No, me either. But you know what? Like at this point,
Yeah.
what you could do is just hope they win today and then continue to win.
Why did they lose the first game when they came back to Yankee Stadium? I've been too busy to watch. I have to read all these stupid scripts.
Right off the bat, that Freddie Freeman hit a home run. He's been killing them in this series. And then they were down 3-0 for a good chunk of the game. Then it was 4-0. And then the 9th inning, they cut it to 4-2. But it was too late, or the 8th inning. But they just they haven't hit. I love Judge, but he hasn't hit in the
Aaron Judge come through. Wow.
Yeah.
Where's Reggie Jackson? Reggie.
Yeah, I know. You could use some of his magic. You really could. I mean,
those were my Beatlemania rehearsals. While I was rehearsing Beatlemania, he hit, I think it was 3 home runs in one game, if I recall.
Yeah, against the Dodgers. Yeah.
I was rehearsing at SIR Studios on West 52nd Street the day he did that. Oh man, life goes by so fast. Enjoy every millisecond.
And that was one of your quotes.
For granted.
Yeah, that was one of your quotes in life is that, you got to enjoy every day. And I mean, you kind of had that quote years ago and it's kind of stayed true.
It's funny. I didn't realize that, but you're right. It's totally true. You have to take one day at a time and just, if you're 52% happy in a day, you're a winner.
Yeah.
And if those days add up, it's okay to be, it's okay to be 48% struggling or whatever. But if you're 52% happy, you're a happy person. Shut up and enjoy it.
Exactly. So let me ask you this, Al. Did you get to, I know you're working a lot, so you may not have seen it yet, but did you get to catch the documentary they kind of did on David Chase and the Sopranos?
Oh my God, were you kidding? I saw it at the Beacon with David Chase. We had a party. We had it was so great to see everybody. David, again, I don't want to sound like some like mushy, nice guy. I'm not. David Chase changed my life for the better in every single possible way. I owe that man every day of my life. He came up with something that brought so many people good fortune and happiness and better careers and enjoyed watching at home and made people have dinners on Sunday nights all over the country and watch it, brought families together.
Yeah.
My family did that. And those SOBs, it wasn't because I was in it. They're like, 9:00, we got to watch The Sopranos. Come on. And we'd all go to my mother's up in Rockland County and eat, all of us, and watch the show together. The documentary was fabulous. And it was, all the truth came out. There were a lot of things we didn't talk about, because you don't want to talk about, there's bad things here and there and tough things here and there. The documentary was completely honest. It was fabulous. And everyone was there except for Lorraine. She was filming that new movie, whatever it was.
Yeah.
But everyone, Jerry Adler came. Dominic Canese flew in from England. It was great. It was great to see everybody, and the documentary was really good.
It really was. And you and I talked about this the last time you were on. I was always disappointed that your character only lasted one season, but I'll tell you, that character, he was really the first despicable character of the series. If you think about it, then it would be Richie Aprile and then Ralphie Ciparetta, Phil Leotardo. But your character was also very funny at times too. And I was cracking up because I was watching an old episode the other day, and it was, what made me laugh about it is in one of the early episodes, Tony beats up Mikey and he's stapling him with the staple gun. And then fast forward a few episodes later, they're playing golf together. And I just found that so funny that this is the type of life they live. Like you could beat somebody up like that and then they just get over it and they're playing golf together.
Do you know that's how it is in Italian families?
Yeah.
There's 5 children in our family. We'd beat the crap out of each other and say terrible things. I hate you. And then 2 days later, we'd be in Grand Union, not even think about it. Italians are crazy. And that's what's so great about that show. It caught that side of Italian craziness. To me, the most revealing scene in that whole series, and if you're not Italian, you might not get it. You might not get it. Maybe Greeks are like that, or real Spanish people from Mexico are like that. But no, I think Spanish people are much more religious and loving than Italians. But the scene where Melfi in the first year says to Tony Soprano, she goes, "Don't you have any happy memories with your family?" She goes, with your mother, your father. He goes, "Well, let me think about it." And he's thinking. He goes, "Oh yeah. Once we was walking down the sidewalk in Newark, and those cellars that have the open doors." He goes, "My father fell in, and he rolled down the steps and hit his head on the cement. We were all laughing so hard we couldn't even help him up the steps." Like, that's so Italian.
Yeah, make fun of each other. Yeah, I mean,
totally. My brother and I love him. We're still very close. And we finally stopped it. I said it. My father actually, when he got old, stopped. Our whole humor was putting each other down our whole lives.
Yeah.
And our sisters too. It was terrible. And my dad, I guess it clicked into his head when he was probably in his mid-70s and stopped. He's like, "I don't like it anymore. Stop it." And then my brother and I don't do it at all anymore. My brother became a policeman, so his whole sentiments changed. He became much more civically responsible and caring about the community. So we got a lot. Hopefully we evolved a lot in our lifetimes.
Though, Al, I mean, in a lot of ways, you said that changed your career, and it really did, because, I mean, you were, even if you weren't on it the whole series, you were on it. You were one of the core when the series started. I mean, your character was Junior Soprano's right-hand man. And I mean, Mikey, it seemed like every episode he was in that season, it was a memorable one. And even, his demise was memorable. I mean, the funny moment with Paulie saying he's got the poison ivy, and, I always got a kick out of, and I apologize, I forget the actress's name, but the one who played your on-screen wife, the dialogue you two had.
Michelle Santapietro, Jojo Palmice.
Yeah, because, I mean, the way you just said before, that's how Italians are. They fight with each other like it's nothing, and then they get along with each other. And that's kind of how Mikey and his wife were. They would just like insult. He would insult her a lot, and you never saw her really get upset. Like, right. She just took it,
And then it's a brawn, honey, not a Bruin. And were you this blank and stupid when I married you? Yeah. That was our whole relationship. And then at the end, the last thing I say to her is, "Hey ho, take a Midol." And then she says on the news, "The last thing he said was, 'I love you.'"
Yeah. I always laugh at that. That was hysterical.
And wait, I wanted to tell you something funny about, I forgot about the show and about her. She's an NYU grad also.
Yeah.
That show was just something else. So Mikey, say thank you to Milton Gonzalez. I absolutely believe I was a part of that show's success that first season. I think my character was a part of its success. And David Chase gave me the biggest compliment of my life. David has a heart of gold, but he's an introvert. He doesn't talk a lot. He doesn't compliment people a lot. He said to me, he goes, "I made a mistake. I should have kept you around one more season. I killed you too soon." He said that to me. That meant a lot to me, coming from him. Coming from anybody else, but he was the creator of the show. He's like, "I killed you too soon." And he put his arm around me. I think I told you interviewed me before, and he said, "I love what you're doing with this character. I didn't visualize Mikey this way, but I love what you're doing." And that's thanks to Milton Gonzalez, because Milton always said, when you play a president or a king, don't try to act like a king. You'll look like an idiot. Make the people around you, when you enter the stage, bow, and you're a king. He goes, don't put it on yourself to be kingly, because then you'll look like a shitty actor. Walk in eating an apple and make the 14 people on stage bow when they see you. You're a king to the audience. Milton was brilliant. So because of him and the things he used to say, I looked at my first script and I shot somebody like on page something. And I went, you know what? If I'm going to shoot this guy, I don't have to be a tough guy. I am a tough guy. I kill somebody on page 38. I don't have to play him tough. So I wanted to make him 50% Sonny Corleone from The Godfather. You know, try and make him macho and handsome. And the other 50% Joe Pesci in Goodfellas. Kind of a bit of an idiot, you know? Like, you know, like he's a little goofy. He's not the smartest guy in the world. Like, you know, his head was hitting the rocks over and over again. And Uncle Junior's like, shh, you know? So I made him half Joe Pesci and David loved it. And it clicked with the audience, luckily, and it just worked out. I was very lucky.
And it's funny you bring that up, how you tried to, you know, not make him a tough guy, you know, 100%. Evidence of that was episode 12 when Junior and Mikey were going to have Tony clipped, and Junior can hear this guy talking too much, and he's just telling Mikey, I don't like it. And Mikey's like, no, he's cool. Trust me. I don't like it. So Mikey goes, hey, hold up for a second. Sorry. Yeah. And then, you know, kills him. Like he wasn't mean, like he wasn't nasty, but he did what Junior told him to do.
Yeah, I didn't want to kill him. He was my friend. He was my friend. Junior told me to. And I had a discussion. I added the sorry. And Alan Coltier, the director, who I love and completely respect and think he's great, he was like a protege of David Chase. He was like, Al, don't say you're sorry. I was like, Alan, why not? I didn't decide to kill this kid. My boss just said, go kill him. He's my friend. I've done business with this guy for years. I said, can I just do one take where I say I'm sorry and we'll do it? He goes, yeah. So I did it, and the editor and the producers kept it in. So they kept in the I'm sorry. But that was actually a discussion out in the street in Queens.
Right. You know, Al, one of the movies I got to see in recently, and it was a great movie, was George Foreman, Big George Foreman, and you were Gil Clancy. And, you know, I mean, less is always more. Even if you weren't in it the majority of the movie, I mean, just the parts you were, it was tremendous. But when I watched that movie, I just felt like I was really watching like George Foreman and everything that goes with it. And a lot of times when you watch those movies and they play parts of somebody, it doesn't seem realistic to you. But that movie really did. I thought they did a great job with that movie.
I loved that movie. And I don't love a lot of movies anymore. It was inspirational. It was well done. Yeah, me and George. He's the nicest guy. He sold that grill. He sold the rights to the grill, I think, for 144 million or 177 million, one of the two. That's, you know, that guy, he was determined to be successful. He was determined to make it work. That was an inspirational film. And I studied Gil Clancy on the internet. I studied the way he talked from the Bronx. He would talk like this when he talked to George. He was like, George, he's a puncher. Huh? You know, I studied him. And that movie, the day it was going to be released, and Sony had to put up all the promotional, George Foreman got accused in the Me Too movement from people 20 years ago, 30 years ago, of sexually harassing them. I don't know if you know that. So it killed the publicity, the budget. They were like, we better not even bother. That movie, the kid who played George Foreman, I forgot. I'm embarrassed. I forgot his name. I got to know him well. He was great. He was fabulous.
He was awesome.
I thought the movie was fabulous. I loved that movie. And it was a movie everyone should see because it inspires you of what you could do if you work hard. And it got another casualty without a trial, without evidence, without cross-examination, without, you know, the right to defend yourself and tell your side of the story. Another thing canceled in America because of these woke movements instead of due process of law. And it's another casualty of it. And I could tell you if 25, you know, right now, but I won't. All right. Obviously, I'm a little pissed off a lot.
Hey, you know what? You're being honest. You know, things I learned about you in your career, you know, you can, like I said, you can never learn enough. You can never learn enough about a person, an actor, a sports player, whatever. I never realized you were also a resident of Canada as well. And
yes,
that's, you know, that's always a country that like I would love to see, because I just feel like there's so many good people there. They are just great people. And I mean, you know, talk about, you know, living in Canada for a while.
I have a condo there. I love. You have to go to Toronto and Vancouver. You
Yeah.
have to. I personally think Toronto, except maybe for New York's insane excitement, it's cleaner than New York and more civil, and it's the nicest city in North America. It's beautiful. And the people there, first of all, there's less people in Canada than there are in the state of California. And wait till you see Vancouver. You know, I think the most expensive place to buy real estate is Central Park South, which comes in at 5,000 a square foot. That's a lot of money. You know, the Upper East Side is like 2,200. Tribeca, the West Village, is 2,700 a square foot. Vancouver, it cost a fortune to buy a house. Like I don't remember. It's something like 3,500 a square foot to buy a house. And Vancouver is
Wow.
gorgeous. It's spectacular. It's beautiful, and the geography is beautiful. And Canadians are less entitled. They don't walk around with that American attitude that, like, you know, I'm entitled to this and I'm the greatest and I deserve that. And there's a humbleness to them that is so attractive and so warm, you know, so heartwarming. I really like Canadians. I love Toronto. I'm there a lot. I live there from time to time, and I just think Canadians are great. I think that Trudeau is not the greatest prime minister. He'll be gone soon. I think he made a lot of mistakes, and I really like the prime minister before him. Trudeau is like, he's like a pop icon that's in this position, and he's kind of like doing what he's like. And in my opinion, he's like an AOC in Canada. You know, everything's popular. They don't think it through of what the long-term effects would be for the working tax-paying man and woman, you know? So, but I love Canada, and I highly suggest you go.
Right.
Next time I'm doing something up, I did the equivalent of a Broadway show up there at the Royal Alexander Theater, which is a carbon copy of the Schubert Theater, built by the Schuberts, same exact thing. We ran for 18 months. We set every record in Toronto, box office record. It was Dirty Dancing.
Yeah.
Musical of the movie, $15 million production back then. That was great. And that was so much fun. So much fun. Yeah. I lived right on Lake Ontario. It was beautiful, right over the water. I'd feed the seagulls every morning, little things of bread in mid-flight outside my terrace.
Right. And now we're able to go to the Sky Dome at all? Or?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And, well, wait a minute. Are you talking about at the top of the CN Tower, or are you talking about the sports arena?
The sports arena, yes.
Oh, yeah. It wasn't called the Sky Dome in those days. It was called, what's the telephone company?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, they changed the name. But, oh, God, my agent has season tickets. You know, with the family had season tickets. And then I'd stay in a hotel. They have in the outfield all hotel rooms with windows. So, like, you know, 4 stories high are hotel rooms at the Radisson. And you know, during a game, it's like, you know, $4,000 a night. But in the off season, you can get it for like $200, and your window is the whole baseball field or whatever event is going on there. That's a beautiful place, and a family built it.
Yeah.
Gosh, I wish I could remember. It was like the cell phone companies in Toronto, and I can't remember. That's crazy. And I had one of their phones too. There's 2 competing companies. Anyway, yes, I've been to the Sky Dome. I've been to the top of the CN Tower. There's a really nice restaurant up there. The food is pretty good. You know, it's not. It's more of a tourist thing, but their steaks are delicious. Toronto's great. I love it. I had a great time there.
Right. Yeah, and you know, from everybody you talk to, I mean, they say Canada, like I said, is just a wonderful place, and I've never heard anybody say a negative thing about it. So
people are kinder and less entitled, and willing to work harder, and not so judgmental either. They're good people.
So let me ask you, Al, let's get to what has just been, I don't want to say a second career, but it's been a career that you've just, you know, excelled at. And that's along with your partner, as you mentioned her earlier, Deborah Rennard. What you got any upcoming performances, the two of you, that you're going to be doing soon that we could look forward to?
We just did a sellout performance on September 26th, like a month ago. We just 9,000 seats at the PNC. We opened for Darlene Love and for the Fifth Dimension. It was fabulous.
Wow.
And it was sold out. The energy was great. The audience loved all of us. They loved everybody. Fifth Dimension, they were fabulous. Marilyn McCoo and Billy Davis Jr. Cousin Brucey was the MC again. He was friends with Murray the K. They're from the same generation. And it was just great. The band, we flew Joey Malati out from Vegas, Luckily, he was off that night from Barry Manilow's tour. And it was just sensational. Upcoming, we always do the Cutting Room once a year in New York. I'm sure we'll be there February 8th, the Saturday before Valentine's Day. It's Valentine's Day date night. We do Vibratos, Herb Alpert's place in LA once a year. And we only want to do it once a year. We only sing like 5 times a year because you can't, like, if you get an acting job and then you have a singing date, you can't cancel the date. It's really wrong. Right. So, and you don't want to give up, a movie to sing for a night. We do it for the love of it. I mean, we wind up, getting paid, of course, but we love it. So we should be doing Vibratos in LA in probably in January. And what else? What am I missing? I think that's it. I think we have to get to booking with our agent. Actually, we've been a little lax. This PNC thing was so spectacular. We just kind of we're still reeling from the excitement. I mean, playing for 9,000 people sold out. We're having more fun than them probably, and they're having a great time. So.
No, and I mean, the music is just tremendous. I mean, the two of you, the chemistry, and
you saw a show in New York, if I recall, right?
Yeah, and I mean, just what you both have generated, with doing this. I mean, because it's funny. I mean, a lot of people, like I said, will associate you with Mikey Palmice, but you know what? There's so many people that associate you with Deb and the singing that you both do, because I mean, it is phenomenal. It's just wonderful.
I really appreciate it. We love it. Thank you very much. We added Time of Our Life to our show. We now sing that song from Dirty Dancing.
Oh, that's going to be great. I mean, that is, something and I encourage anybody to listen to the two of them, and there's a ton of songs of both of them on YouTube. Just go on YouTube and you can hear them. But Al, as always, anytime I get to interview you, it's a real treat for me. I just sit back, relax, and let you tell the story. And I mean, I really do credit you. You said this early on in the interview about how you're one of the 25%, you're an egomaniac, but I don't believe that to be true, because when I talk to you, I feel like I'm just talking to a guy I'm sitting at Dunkin' Donuts with and having a conversation. So thank you again for your, for always being, accessible and, going out of your way to come on and talk with me a little bit.
I like talking with you, Mike. I like it.
Well, I appreciate it a lot, and keep up the great work, because, you do a phenomenal job.
All right. I forgot, what city are you based in again?
I'm in Derby, Connecticut.
So we'll see you soon.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Thanks, buddy. Take care. Buddy.
And of course, folks, that's the one and only Al Sapienza. Terrific guy.
And tell your folks to watch. Oh, I have a couple of new things coming out. I have a show called The Madness coming out soon.
Yes. Yeah.
On Netflix. The Madness. I have I'm going to be on an episode. I went to Budapest a few weeks ago. I'm going to be on FBI International very soon, 2-3 weeks from now.
Oh, nice.
And I just did a movie called Year of the Rooster with Johnny Williams from Goodfellas and Robert Miano, who played Sonny Black in Donnie Brasco. It's another mob movie. So, and Reacher. Don't forget to watch the second season of Reacher.
Well, you just you gave me another reason to get in touch with you in a few weeks. So we'll have you back on, and we'll talk about all of that, because I think it'll be so much fun.
All right. Take care, my friend. Thank you,
buddy. That's the one and only, the great Al Sapienza. For Mike Palmice, this is In the Spotlight saying goodbye, everyone.